We're getting very close to the end of this course. We're in chapter 4 already, and in this chapter we're diving way deeper into the world of objects and how they work. And we're going to start it off talking about functions. And functions is not only a function. As we said, functions in many ways, they're much more than that because we could add to them prototypes, we could add to them static variables, and really a function is actually a type of object. Not only is it a type of object, it also has a few built-in functions of its own. And we're going to look at them right now because we're going to need them for the remainder of the course in a lot of situations. So let's meet the functions. So far, one of the main goals in this chapter is to walk away from us adding and changing and manipulating directly the built-in object. In a real world, we love these features, but we wouldn't want them to be part of the built-in object, but we would want to probably extend the object. For example, we might want to have an object that is called live date. And maybe live date would be an object that would basically do all these functionalities that are inside of our date object. But we have a problem. And one problem, and not really a problem, beyond a problem, we have a conception that we have to break through. So far throughout your career as a developer, you probably treated functions as just functions because that's what they were. In JavaScript, that's not the case. Functions, just as is, are objects. And I can prove it to you very easily. If I go ahead here and I'm just going to show you, for example, this object expects to get 2 properties, or maybe 3 properties even, ABC. I'm going to go ahead and have it console out into the log those variables. Now if I go ahead here and I just call this function liveDate, not even creating a new object, literally just going ahead and calling liveDate, and I literally just go ahead and send, let's say 1, 2, 3. Fine, that's a function, everything is working, it's behaving exactly as a function behaves, we're expecting it to be a function. Now let's see something really cool. Now I'm going to go ahead here and also trace out and also console out what this is. What is this at all? And if I go ahead and I refresh our view and I ask us what it is, it's going to tell us it's the view. We're not inside of a specific object really, so we're in the window itself. I could literally go ahead and say, I don't want you to be the window anymore, I want you to refer to something. And the way I do that is instead of calling my object directly, I append to it the call, literally treating it as if it was an object, because it is an object. And then I could go ahead in my first parameter, say, you're actually a clock. And if I go ahead and do that and I save this and I go back into my application, notice what my object is going to be. My object is going to be that clock. All right. Now, there's a couple of different objects that exist, and I wanted you just to be aware of them all. There are 2. One function that belongs to the function is a function that enables you to call the function itself and change its scope. So the first property would be the scope that you want it to be, and all the remaining properties would be the properties that you're expecting to get inside of that function. Another method, which is very, very similar, is instead of using the call, I'm going to use the live date, and I'm going to press apply. Now, the only difference between call and apply, the first parameter is still the this that you want it to be. We still want it to be the clock. The next is going to be an array of values, and it's going to not, instead of sending it directly, I'm sending it as an array, which this could become incredibly handy if you have some information that's coming through and it's not coming and you don't know how many they're going to be. For example, with the date object that we're going to work with really soon, we don't know how many property the users is sending to the date object. We just want to pass it through. And when we create our live date, we don't really know what the properties are going to be, but we want to fetch them all and send them onwards. And that's exactly what we're going to look at in the next section when we go ahead and revisit the idea of prototype and see how do we inherit things now that we know that every function is also an object.